Hello and welcome to video number 15. This is me learning how to use the Octatrack Mk.II and passing all that on to you as I do so. This video is in response to a request on my YouTube channel. The chap in question was asking for more help with the crossfader and the scenes. So first of all, let me say in video 3 I did do a 6-minute section about this, fairly basic. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy that section into this video so you can watch that first of all. If you've already seen that or you know all about that, then by all means use the chapter markers and avoid it and go straight to the next bit. But it's worth watching that bit first, I think, because that will give you a good grounding on this subject. Let's talk about scenes and the crossfader. Now I must stress this is going to be a basic tutorial. This is a pretty deep subject. I'll do a more advanced tutorial later on, but this will get you up and running with your crossfader. So here we go again. Let's go back and think about this. Each project has 16 banks with 4 parts per bank. Each part has 16 possible scenes. So that's 64 scenes per bank, which gives you a possible 1024 scenes for the entire project. Scenes are assigned to the A and the B buttons, either side of this crossfader here. And by pressing either button and then one of the 16 pads. So if I press the A button here, you'll see 1 and 9 have lit up. If I press the B, they've lit up but with opposite colours. So if you press the A button, the button assigned to A is in red and the button assigned to B is in green, and if you press the B button it's the other way around. At the bottom corner of the display you can see which pads have been assigned to A and B and the position of the slider. If I move it there, it's very small. I'll leave it in the middle for the moment. The idea here is to parameter lock items to tracks in a pattern, pressing and holding A and then pressing and holding B, so that when you slide the crossfader from left to right, any speed you like, it runs very easily, this crossfader. There's no friction there at all. So if you slide the crossfader across, you'll hear the sound morphing as the parameters change. So it's a good idea to have the sequencer running as you make the changes, and it's a good idea to have the crossfader all the way over if you're adjusting B like that, and if you're setting A, have the crossfader over in the A position. Now if you press and hold either the A or B buttons, you'll see any changes in the parameters black on white. Now so if I press A, I haven't made any changes at all. I'm going to do this on track 8 because track 8, the master track, is a very good track to use for this. Let's go to the DJ equalizer. So I press A and I haven't made any changes. So let's get the sequence running. I'm going to hold the A button down. That's set on this button here, number 1, this pad here, number 1. I'm going to change some parameters while holding onto the A. So I've dramatically changed that. Now I'm going to come over to B, and here it's changed as it's gone back to the way it was before. So if I come over to A and press and hold A, you can see the ones that I've changed highlighted black on white. So let's come over to B. So there's B. By the way, you don't see the changes on the screen, it's only when you press the button. So on the B button there you can see the parameters I've changed on the delay. So I'm going to hold button B and change the DJ equalizer. Okay, that's locked in. See the ones I've changed. Over to A, different, B, different. Must remember to hold the button down. Okay, so I've set up some changes from A to B. Now, if you don't want the crossfader to do anything, just press and hold A and a pad that you haven't assigned it to. So if I go to 2 for the A and 10 for the B, now the crossfader doesn't work. So you might want to do that if you're wanting to have something just running smoothly normally, because as soon as you go for the ones that have been assigned, A and B, 1 and 9, then your crossfader starts to work. See? So that wasn't very expert, was it? But I'm sure you got the general drift of it. And I've done this on pattern 4 and it's in part 2. Right, so that's been assigned to part 2. So if I go to pattern 1 and play this, see the crossfader doesn't work because those scenes were assigned to part 2. So if I go to pattern 4, which is part 2, those scenes, 2 out of my possible 16, were assigned to this part. Now if I press play, now they work. So again, scenes are assigned to parts. People like EasyBot, they're absolutely brilliant with this. I urge you to watch his videos. He is an absolute master with this thing. I'm just showing you the basics of how to get it set up and get it working. There's a guy I was watching the other day who was doing scratching with this. He had a vocal spoken word sample and he was scratching using the crossfader, and that's great fun. I did try a bit of that, but I'm no expert at it yet. When I've sorted that out, I'll show you that as well. So at the moment we've only got these 2 scenes, but obviously you could set up different scenes on all the other pads and it could be absolutely amazing to have all the different pads assigned to different scenes, all with different sets of parameters morphing one to the other, A to B, B to A. So I'm not going to repeat any of that. I'm just going to go on assuming you've watched that. So I thoroughly recommend that you do watch that section if you are completely in the dark about how to use this crossfader effectively. I tend to have it so that when the crossfader is in the A position, things are unchanged, and when I move to the B, that's where we see the changes. In video 3, when I was doing that, I actually put the changes on the A position. It really doesn't matter. I mean, you can have changes on the A and the B. It's a very flexible thing. So we're going to start off with something very simple. I've made a new project here, and in this project I've got a master track, track 8, and I've got 4 tracks. Track 1 is a kick drum, 2 is a snare, 3 hi-hats, and track 4 is a bass. So very, very basic, very, very simple. What we're going to do for the time being is we're going to go to mix, which is the mixer. I'm going to press 3 and 4 to mute tracks 3 and 4. So we've only got a kick drum and a snare drum. Let's have a listen to that. Very simple. Now, by default, if I press the A crossfader button, you'll see it's assigned to trig 1, and if I press the B, it's assigned to 9. And notice you've got 2 trigs that are always linked together. You can't unlink those because it's A going to B, in this case 1 going to 9, or 9 going to 1. So that's the default setting. There's no need to change that for this video at the moment. We will be changing the B trig in a little while. Right, let's press T2, so we're on the snare drum track, track 2, and I'm going to press the amp button. Okay? All okay so far. So I'm going to press and hold the B button. You don't have to have the crossfader in the position of the button that you're changing. So there we are, I'm just going to leave it in the A position, but I'm going to press the B button, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set the X vol. Now without that B button being pressed, look at this bottom right rectangle, it's blank, but as soon as I press the B, we get this X volume, which is the crossfader volume. So if I keep that pressed and I rotate the F encoder, okay, you'll see that I'm going to turn that to minimum. It was on maximum, minimum. So look at that switch. Over on the right it's maximum, on the left it's minimum. So now if I press that, it's minimum. So what does that mean? Well, it means that if I move the crossfader over to the B, the snare drum, which is on track 2, will be muted. Let's test that. So there we are, position A, move over to the B, and it's gone. Now, in between settings, as I slide back, you'll hear the snare gradually come in and get louder and louder. So it's like a volume fader for the snare drum. So that's using the crossfader in the most basic of ways, but it's good though, isn't it? I'm now going to press the B button again. I'm going to change the trig pad assigned to it from 9 to 10. So if you look in the display now, you see the crossfader moves from 1 to 10, not 1 to 9 as it was. So now A is set to 1, B is set to 10, but notice how 9 is still lit because the Octatrack remembers that you've got something assigned to that trig as well. Now if I press play again and move the crossfader over, the snare doesn't disappear because I've got trig 10 assigned to it where nothing is changed and the X volume is on maximum. Now we've got track 8 as a master track, that's fine. Now I'm going to press and hold the B button and you'll see there's one little setting there. If you look at level here, that changes to X level, crossfader level. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to rotate the level encoder, get my hands out of the way, and I'm going to change that to minimum. Maximum is what its default is, minimum is what we're changing it to by rotating the level encoder to the left. Now, let's just play our track. Just got kick drum and snare drum. If I move over to the B position, everything fades away. Now, the reason for that is track 8 is the master track. Everything that's playing goes through that before it goes out of the Octatrack into your mixer or whatever you're playing it through. So with that set to X level minimum, if you move over to the B position, you are actually turning everything down. You're not letting anything get through to the master track. And of course, if you bring it back, gradually the volume increases. We're just going to reset that because that could be problematic. But that is on trig 10. We haven't made any changes to the A position for trig 1. So just to recap, hold B, press 9. In that position, we lose the snare. And of course, holding trig 10 and with that master level set to minimum, we turn the volume down. Reset that again. Good, that's great. So simple things, but they're useful, aren't they? You don't always have to do amazing things with a crossfader. Sometimes it's simple utility things like this that can be so useful. Right, so let's use this trig 10 again because we've changed that X level back to maximum, and we're going to use the delay on track 8. So if I hold the B button down, you have to hold the button down to make the change, and if I crank up the send and I crank up the feedback, just play this. Now if we change the bass and the width, change the tone of the delay, we'll hear it better. So in the B position, we've got lots of delay, and in the A position, nothing. Move it over. And in the middle, you can hear the delay is there, but not as prominent as it is fully over in the B position. All the way over to the A, nothing. And you can see what you've changed by just holding the B button down. Everything you've changed is black on white, whereas normally it's white on black. So I changed the feedback, the bass, the width and the send. Okay, so that's another simple application of the crossfader. Right, let's use another trig button. Let's hold B down and 11. Now there'll be nothing, no changes, because I haven't applied anything to this trig, this pad. So B button, A is still on 1, B is now on 11. We haven't lost 9 and 10, they're still there. So we're going to use 11 now. And what I'm going to do now is going to go to Effects 1, which I've set to the DJ equalizer, and I'm going to change the settings for this. Best to have the track running while you're doing this. If you want immediate feedback, if you want to hear immediately what you're doing, you need the crossfader over in the B position, because you'll be changing things on the DJ equalizer but you won't hear them because your crossfader is over in the A position. So over to the B, set it going and make the changes. Must press the B button down. Some very obvious changes there. So that's the change. I've changed all those parameters. And move it back. Nothing. So if I hold the B button down and go to 9, no snare, delay, DJ equalizer. So I've got those 3 effects set up all on that crossfader. Now you remember that number 9 is set on the snare drum, but it still works because the A and B positions work on everything you've applied them to, not just the track you're on. That of course was set on track 2, isn't it? If we move over to the B, so that was on the amp page, X volume was minimum for track 2, and on the master track we changed the DJ equalizer, and on trig 10 we changed the delay. You've obviously got to go to the actual parameter to see the changes you've made. Now you can copy these. So if I go to 10, which I'm on, this is the delay. Okay, that was on trig 10. You always know which one it is because it comes up in red. 9 and 11 in green because they've been assigned but they're not being used at the moment. Now I can copy that trig 10. So I hold the B button down, I press the record button, which is also copy scene. I'm going to keep hold of the B button and I'm going to go to trig 16, press that. I'm going to press the stop button, which is also paste, keep hold of the B button, paste scene. Now this 16 should be the delay, and it is. I'm just going to clear that. So I hold B, make sure the 16 is on, press the play button, which is clear scene, and now nothing on that. I mean, you can copy the B settings to the A settings just by holding B, pressing copy, and go to A and press paste, but I can't really see the point of that. Maybe I will see that later on in my journey with this machine. It's amazing how, as the weeks go by, the pieces of the jigsaw gradually fall into place. But it's a huge jigsaw that you're making, so be patient with yourself. Right, let's unmute track 3, which is the hi-hats. So we've got a hi-hat pattern running alongside the kick drum and the snare drum. Right, so I'm on track 3, the hi-hat track. I'm on the source page and I'm going to press and hold trig 15. Now I have to have the record light on. This is trig 15. Let's play it. So it's this one coming up, that one there. Right, I'm going to press and hold that, and I'm going to set the retrig, kind of ratchet thing, to 3 by rotating the E encoder a little bit. 1, 2, 3. Keep hold of that, and I'm going to set the retime to a half, which is, I think, 500. Okay. Now let's just play this, see what we got. So a pretty crude but effective ratchet on that trig. Notice none of that was done whilst holding the B button or the A button down. That's completely independent of the crossfader. So why am I doing this? Well, I'm going to press and hold the B button down. I'm going to assign trig 12 to it. So there's nothing on this at the moment. Nothing happening on the crossfader. That's fine. I'm going to press and hold the B button and I'm going to rotate the E and F encoders to the left so that the retrig is on 1. Go back and down again, and the retime is on 0.005, which is the lowest it can go. Right, so in the B position, we shouldn't hear that ratchet now. See? But with the A position on, you can hear the ratchet. So it's kind of putting the cart before the horse. So rather than trying to assign that ratchet to the B, I've assigned turning off the ratchet to the B, do you see? So there's the ratchet, and in the B position, no ratchet. So yet another simple but effective use of the crossfader. Now if I bring the crossfader slowly back from that point, you'll hear the ratchet come in at different timings. Tiny bit there, a bit more, gets wider and wider, a bit more, and then all the way over the full effect. Right, so we've used 9, 10, 11 and 12, let's use 13 now. I'm going to go to the amp page of the hi-hats, press and hold the B button, and I'm going to turn the volume, which is on encoder D, all the way down. So the crossfader is now going to act as a volume slider for the hi-hats. So in the A position, we hear it. If I move it over, fully over, no hi-hats, bring it back. Gradually they come in. Notice the ratchet is the same because this is a different trig. The ratchet was on 12, this is a different trig, this is 13, this is controlling the volume of the hi-hats. See, another simple but effective use of that crossfader. Right, let's go to the mixer page and turn the bass track on, track 4, go to that track. Bass is on now. By the way, press AED, go to the attributes page, make sure the time stretch is turned off. I always turn the time stretch and the loop mode off when I do this. This is a melodic track, it's just a simple one-shot trig of a bass, but I tend to always do that. I always worry about it sounding wobbly because there's a time stretch on. So no time stretch, possibly isn't necessary, but I tend to do that. Source page for the bass, there we are. Now I'm going to hold the B button down, I'm going to press trig 14, so yet another one we've used. I'm now going to hold the B button down and rotate the A encoder so the pitch goes up to 12. So A all the way up to 12. Okay, so we're on the bass track and we're on trig 14. We've set the pitch to 12 on the B button. Let's see what happens when we move the crossfader over. Now, it doesn't do exactly what you might think. I thought that it would just bring the entire track up to an octave higher, but what happens is it just moves all the notes up to one pitch. It's quite a good effect though, isn't it? Up and down. One thing that I found a little bit disappointing is that you can't record this crossfader movement into the sequencer. If I'm wrong about that, please let me know, but I don't think you can. It's purely a performance effect. You've got some in-between settings there, not particularly useful. It's a little bit atonal, isn't it? But I do like that. Very good, isn't it? Let's go to Trig 15. Come over to the B, press the B, still on the bass, and we'll turn the X level to minimum. Now, in the B position, no bass, and if we bring the slider over, it's a volume control for the bass. Go back to 14, and we've got our sliding pitch. That's all for today, just some simple ideas for using the Crossfader that I really enjoyed figuring out and showing you. Nothing earth-shattering here. Obviously this isn't everything you can do with the Crossfader, just a few simple ideas for you to try. So that's the end of the video. If you got something from it, please give it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. You can make a donation to me here on YouTube or on my website, which is www.daddylonglegs.com. Thank you very much for watching today, and you'll see me in my next video.